Joining us right now on Can iMedia is Floyd Roland. You're the mayor of Inuvik.
Yes.
Why would you be down at this conference?
Well, to try to see what's being said about current activities in the Arctic in the different regions, what industry and what the science community is saying about development in the north.
Well, it's interesting because the oil and gas industry has been up there since the late 60s, early 70s.
Yes.
Worked quite a bit up until the 80s, then things seem to die out for a bit, and it's coming back in. So it's not like it's a new industry to the area.
No, not at all. We've got a lot of experience, and with the land claim settled with the Inuvik, they've joint ventured with quite a number of companies as exploration has occurred, and joint ventures as well here in southern Canada.
When you look at what was done in the past and what's going on right now, are the concerns any different today than they might have been 20, 30 years ago because there might be more knowledge out there as to how things are done?
Well, there are some similar concerns, but definitely things have changed. The requirements that were put in place in the days past would no longer work in today's environment. Because the groups, for example, the Inuvik and the Gwich'in are settled areas within where I live, they have their environment bodies, the land animal side, environmental side. They have regimes in place. They have decision-making power in a number of respects now that they didn't have in the past. And from the business side, from being laborers, now there's a lot of owners of businesses.
Okay. One of the things that seems to be a central theme talking to people here is a connectedness to the land up in the north, perhaps might be a little bit stronger than it is, south. How does that come into play?
Well, it is definitely, there's a big connection to the land. You look at the people, there's subsistence harvesting of the different wildlife up there. Using the animals for food, traveling and taking holidays and so on right on the land. There's a definite tie there for the local people and those who've made I'll refer to the Beaufort Delta as home. They've gladly accepted what we have in place up there. The areas of concern was important enough that when the land claims were signed by the Inuvik, for example, was the first group to settle, they put a whole side to wildlife and land management.
And this is something that the oil companies have to respect, obviously, if they hope to do any business.
Absolutely. With the land claims in place, there are requirements to go through the processes that are established.
So I imagine then sustainability and not leaving anything behind once the job is done are a couple of key factors in letting anybody do business up there.
Well, if you look at what's happened, for example, the old Line sites. Again, standards have totally changed back when they were doing that. Now there's a cleanup happening, and the Inuvik and other groups are involved in that cleanup now. So our environmental standards, the requirement for work capacity has changed, and yes, you'd see a difference today.
Big news this month is the fact that Ottawa has now transferred powers over to the Northwest Territories.
Well, it's in the process of transferring.
Right.
Devolution is something that's been talked about for decades in the Northwest Territories. I grew up in Inuvik, that's my hometown. I listened to many of the elders past who talked about taking control of decision making. And now we're into that stages of actually making it happen. So this recent news is very good for us, and there's a number of steps now to be taken in consulting with the rest of with the public across the north, and then the key bodies making decisions. So I think it's a good thing.
So rather than, for people who may not understand, rather than having Ottawa make the decision as to what's going to happen up there, the people of the Northwest Territories will now have that ability, or will soon have that ability. Will that change anything, the way business is done up there?
Well, I think that would, because right now when you look at it, the sense of who makes decisions, who's responsible, who benefits, it's all looked from the outside in, from many of the groups in the Northwest Territories. It's a decision maker that makes a final decision, puts recommendations in place, and puts whether it's a regulation, policy, the guidelines, all developed by someone in an office 4,000 or more miles away. Now, with this coming north and once finally approved, I believe that you will have decision making closer. You'll have people knowing that there's an actual benefit to a decision being made, and what requirements for sustainability, for environmental issues have to be put in place.
Floyd, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
All right.